They box like snipers and knock fellow competitors out unconscious. But who are these knockout artists, renowned as the best boxers in the UFC today? While wrestling and BJJ are the cornerstones of grappling, boxing is a critical component of MMA's stand-up game. Kicking an opponent can be risky, as it often opens up the danger of being taken down. As a result, some UFC athletes have perfected boxing specifically for MMA, a style that's not only defensively sound, but as lethal as a desert eagle when they go on the offensive. Without further ado, here are the top 10 best boxers in the UFC today. Before we dive in, note that we're focusing on fighters who rely heavily on punches to dismantle their opponents. This means we won't be including striking maestros like Israel Adesanya, who blend their punches with kicks in a more traditional kickboxing approach. Instead, this list highlights fighters who rarely kick and primarily use their fists to break their foes' spirits before sending them straight to oblivion. The Englishman doesn't rely on flashy techniques in his boxing, yet he's managed to knock out anyone daring enough to trade hands with him in the octagon. Aspinall is the perfect example of how it's not about knowing a million advanced techniques, but mastering the basics and applying them with deadly precision. And Tom's most lethal weapon? A textbook 1-2 boxing combo. What sets Tom Aspinall apart is that he's a 260-pound giant who moves like a welterweight. Heavyweights with speed and fluidity are rare, and when you do find one, they often lack the knockout power to match. But Tom, he's the complete package, a fluid mover with the kind of power that hits like a freight train. Aspinall's UFC debut was nothing short of spectacular. He introduced the unfortunate Jake Collier to his signature 1-2 combo, sending him on an express ticket to the canvas. As his career soared, Tom continued to showcase his elite boxing, dispatching top-tier opponents like Marci Tybura, Curtis Blades, and Sergey Pavlovich with clinical precision. Currently, the Englishman holds the UFC record for shortest average fight time at 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Is it any wonder Jon Jones wants no part of that smoke? When you look at Strickland's stance, he's reminiscent of a flamingo chilling in the water. Standing upright in an orthodox stance, the American is renowned for his defensive striking. This is backed by the UFC's official significant strike defense statistic, where he holds a remarkable 65.4% defense rate, the highest among active middleweights. At the heart of Strickland's defensive mastery is his use of the Philly shell guard, a technique characterized by the lead hand protecting the lower torso and the backhand guarding the side of the face. It's a style famously employed by Floyd Mayweather throughout his career. This guard allows Strickland to deflect incoming strikes with his lead shoulder, actively parry punches, and check kicks with precision. On the offensive side, Sean Strickland relies on classic boxing fundamentals. He pressures opponents by relentlessly walking them down, forcing them into boxing range, where he peppers them with volume jabs, followed by his sharp right cross. Unlike Tom Aspinall, Strickland doesn't rely on one-punch knockout power. Instead, he wears his opponents down with cumulative damage, breaking their will to fight. Just ask Brendan Allen, Abus Magomedov, Nordine Taleb, or Alex Garcia, all of whom crumbled under Sean's relentless pressure before the final bell. But his crowning achievement came against one of the middleweight greats, Israel Adesanya, whom Strickland not only outstruck, but completely outclassed. In a division where the title is held by one of the most boring fighters in UFC history, having someone like Jack Della Maddalena at welterweight gives us hope that this weight class can one day shine again. Although the Australian is a BJJ black belt capable of crafting submissions on the mat, he primarily uses his grappling defensively to keep the fight standing, where he dismantles opponents with his crisp boxing. Since earning his UFC contract on Dana White's Contender Series 39, Jack's striking has been his calling card, with none of his first 4 opponents making it out of the first round. He's also gone to war with Basil Hafez and Kevin Holland before delivering a brutal third-round TKO over former title challenger Gilbert Burns. At just 28 years old, Della Maddalena combines youth, skill, and star potential, making him one of the brightest prospects at welterweight. But will his boxing brilliance be enough to claim UFC gold? Only time will tell. Max Holloway is often regarded as the best boxer in the UFC, and for good reason. He boldly claimed that title after dismantling Calvin Kattar in 2021, and his performances since then have only reinforced his case. Known for his relentless head movement and fluid combinations, the BMF champion thrives under pressure, wearing down opponents with a masterclass in patience and precision. His exceptional footwork and understanding of range give him a decisive edge in landing pinpoint strikes. When we look at his professional record, Max has secured 9 KO victories, making him the fighter with the most knockouts in UFC featherweight history. The most recent came against Justin Gaethje in UFC 300. The last-second knockout punch was something that no one even imagined, making the audience wonder if there is life after this. Before that bout, he fought Jung Chan-sung, known as the Korean Zombie, due to his incredible endurance to absorb punishment and keep moving forward. However, Max proved to be quite the Rick Grimes of MMA, as he pulled his revolver out and shot the zombie in the head, sending him straight to La La Land. The former champion also boasts the most total strikes landed in UFC history, at a jaw-dropping 3,622, alongside the most significant strikes landed at 3,378. And if that wasn't enough, Holloway shattered another record with 16 bouts where he landed 100 or more significant strikes. At UFC on ABC1 against Calvin Kattar, Holloway didn't just dominate, he turned the octagon into his realm. Talking to the commentary team mid-fight while slipping Kattar's punches wasn't just a display of confidence, it was the ultimate gangsta moment in UFC history. Pulling off a stunt like that requires next-level defensive boxing, and Max Holloway made it look effortless. If you see him as the white version of Francis Ngannou, you wouldn't be far off. Sergey Pavlovich is arguably the hardest hitter in the UFC today. The Russian isn't just a reckless brawler, letting haymakers fly. He picks his punches with sniper-like precision, with every strike perfectly calculated. One of his favorite techniques is the hybrid straight uppercut, a move he's used effectively on multiple occasions, including knockdowns of Shamil Abdurakhimov and Curtis Blades. However, his most memorable bouts came against 2 of the division's scariest sluggers, Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa. Pavlovich stepped into the fire without a bulletproof vest or helmet, trading dynamite on the feet with these monsters. In the end, his weapon proved deadlier, as he knocked both out in the first round. Although he's in hot water at the moment, riding a 2-fight losing streak, there's no doubt that Sergey, alongside Tom Aspinall, is the most dangerous boxer in the UFC's heavyweight division. When it comes to the most stylish fighter to ever step into the octagon, Conor McGregor arguably takes the crown. With his timing, precision, power, and unconventional southpaw stance, McGregor didn't just fight, he mesmerized. Switching stances looked effortless in his prime, but it's his legendary left hand that cemented his place in MMA history. Dubbed the Celtic Cross, McGregor's left hand has become an iconic weapon, devastating his opponents time and time again, whether it was a pinpoint straight or a thunderous left hook. Trading shots with McGregor was as dangerous as swimming in an alligator-infested swamp. In his prime, Mystic Mac was a knockout artist like no other. His streak of 5 consecutive knockouts over Diego Brandao, Dustin Poirier, Dennis Siver, Chad Mendes, and Jose Aldo showcased his unmatched finishing ability. Speaking of Aldo, who could forget UFC 194? McGregor delivered a record-setting 13-second knockout, a masterpiece executed, of course, with his infamous left hand. Even in other weight classes, McGregor's left hand remained lethal. At UFC 205, Eddie Alvarez experienced the full force of McGregor's precision and power in a clinic of striking mastery. McGregor also holds the rare distinction of earning knockouts in 3 UFC weight divisions, a feat matched only by Jared Cannonier. Love him or hate him, Conor McGregor's name is synonymous with electrifying knockouts and historic moments inside the cage. Yes, we said we wouldn't include classic kickboxers on this list, but it's impossible to talk about the best punchers in the sport without mentioning Alex Pereira. In fact, you could take away his kicks entirely and force him to rely solely on his boxing, and he'd still be a nightmare for anyone willing to trade shots with him on the feet. He often lures his opponents into a false sense of security, leaving his torso unguarded to invite them to close the distance and strike. Little do they know, it's all part of Pereira's trap. The moment they step in, the Brazilian unleashes his signature, perfectly timed lead hook. It's no wonder people call him the man with hands of stone. Poatan is the only fighter to knock out elite names like Israel Adesanya, Yuri Prochazka, and Jamal Hill, all with his devastating left hook. Add his victories over Sean Strickland and Jan Blachowicz, and Pereira has secured KO wins over 5 former champions in the UFC. With 8 of his 12 wins coming by TKO, he's earned his place as one of the most feared strikers in the sport. Fluid, precise, and ridiculously powerful, Pereira's hands are a weapon every fighter dreads. But it's not just his power that makes him dangerous. His counterstrikes and crafty footwork are the icing on the cake. These skills helped him rise to claim the light heavyweight title after relinquishing his middleweight throne, proving once again that Poatan is a force to be reckoned with. When you go toe-to-toe with a crafty striker like Corey Sandhagen and outstrike him with ease, that speaks volumes. Petr Yan is undoubtedly the best boxer in the UFC's bantamweight division, dismantling opponents on the feet since his UFC debut. This Russian fighter was unfortunate to compete in a division dominated by powerful grapplers like Merab Dvalishvili and Aljamain Sterling, who stole his spotlight by out-muscling him on the ground and handing him unanimous decision losses. But when it comes to pure punching, no fighter can match Yan. He keeps his guard high, protecting his face, and then explodes out of nowhere with ballistic missiles, each punch designed to cause serious damage. His deadly boxing was the key to capturing the UFC bantamweight belt, and it might create a path to a UFC title shot again sometime in the future. Dustin Poirier might not have won UFC gold, but he's captivated the fight world like few others. A southpaw with a flair for shoulder rolls and pinpoint accuracy, the Diamond is one of the UFC's most dangerous punchers. Known for his deadly check hook, Poirier's striking arsenal has left many opponents reeling. Just ask Conor McGregor. The Louisiana native is tied with Drew Dober for the most knockouts in UFC lightweight history, and shares a spot with Edson Barbosa for the 4th most knockdowns in the division. When the UFC matchmakers decided to pit Dustin Poirier against the dangerous prospect Benoit Saint-Denis, seemingly trying to build a new star off a legend's name, the American reminded everyone why his striking is as deadly as a .44 Magnum shot. With precision striking and unmatched grit, Poirier has toppled some of the UFC's elite, including Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, and McGregor. Even current lightweight champ Islam Makhachev had his hands full against Poirier at UFC 302. No UFC fighter today boasts a more impressive streak of back-to-back wins in the organization than Ilia Topuria. Within 1 calendar year, the Georgian powerhouse faced Alexander Volkanovski and showed him why you should never bring a knife to a gunfight. If knocking out Volk wasn't impressive enough, Ilia was then scheduled to face Max Holloway, a boxer who needs no introduction. The script for this outcome didn't differ much from the previous bout. Topuria stormed forward like a battering ram with ill intent, and when his rockets started landing on Holloway's face, it was GG, well played. Ilia loves throwing 3-punch boxing combos, working the body and head with precision, leaving his opponents guessing where the next strike will land. Not only is he the most technical boxer in his division, but El Matador also hits like a truck, a rare trait in a smaller weight class like featherweight. He is currently the UFC featherweight champion of the world, and at just 27 years old and still improving, it's hard to imagine anyone dethroning him from the top anytime soon. And what about you, UFC fans? Who do you think is the best boxer in the UFC today? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more MMA content like this.